Hey, good morning. How you doing? You well? It's Monday, June 24th, 2019. It's still pretty grey, pretty miserable out there in Salford here in Greater Manchester. Good morning to Philip and Sugspiracy and to Four Jam Lions to Gail to Anonymous Western Mass who's messaging in from Massachusetts. Good morning, mate. Hi to Alex Dunn as well, to Michael Spencer, to John Sheridan. Did I mention Philip? I did. And to Jew Smeller. Smelling the Jew, eh? That's all right. I had a lovely weekend myself. I spent most of yesterday afternoon listening to the new Bruce Springsteen album. And I've got it here. Very excited about these things, you see. I get very excited. This is it here. Western Stars. Western Stars by Bruce Springsteen. And it's as wonderful and as emotional and as sentimental a work as the great man has produced in many years. Beautiful arrangements, lush string arrangements and deep songs, typical Springsteen, writing about the heartland, writing about working class people and working class issues, and just a beautiful album. So there you are. I recommend it. In fact, if you're somebody who is generally bored by big rock anthems and stadium rock music and acts, which I love, but if you're somebody who doesn't like that, you might very well like the new Springsteen album. It's very it's a kind of a chill out record, really. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. Anyway, look, enough of that. Going to have a look at the newspapers as usual. The first one of the week. Lots going on. The papers are focused again today, at least the front pages are anyway, on the Conservative Party leadership race, which is, of course, as you know now, down to two people: Jeremy Hunt, the Foreign Secretary, and the former Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson. And he's embroiled, isn't he, Johnson, at the moment in this mess, this story about this argument that he had with his girlfriend on Friday evening at their shared apartment, and the fallout from that and his refusal to deal with it in any way or to speak about it, maintaining his right to privacy and maintaining that it isn't anybody's business. As the police turned up on Friday, saw that there was nothing for them to worry about and left. But the newspapers are refusing to let it go, which I suppose is understandable. So we'll have a look at the front pages then. There is a lot of interesting things going on today in the papers. A lot of interesting articles in the papers today that have got nothing to do with Boris Johnson or his girlfriend or even the Conservative Party leadership race. So let's have a look at the front pages anyway. We'll do that now. Hey, before we do that, were you watching the England ladies play Cameroon last night, were you? Well, start down after spending most of the afternoon listening to Bruce. In fact, I kept playing Bruce over and over again, and I put the England-Cameroon last 16 World Cup match on. It was in Valenciennes in France. Thank God the future Mrs. Allen is not listening to that pronunciation. It's pretty garbage. And I've watched a million live football matches, and I've watched probably 5,000 live, as in being there in the venue, standing alongside the pitch, in the stadium. I love my escapism. I love my escape. Football is an escape for me. I understand the bread and circuses thing, of course I do. I know what it is. But ultimately, over the years, it did a lot of good, a lot of great social movements and socialist movements were started on the terraces. And I won't get into that. I won't bore you with that now. But I love my football, as you know. I'm suffering a bit at the moment. I'm suffering a bit at the moment. We had it good for a long time, right? We got to take the pain and hope it's only temporary. But the England women played Cameroon women yesterday in the last 16. I've enjoyed the World Cup. Now, I'm not trying to... You have to keep saying this, don't you? I'm not trying to curry favour with my lady listeners. There was a time when you couldn't have paid me to watch women's football because the standard wasn't great. And I was very upfront about that at the time. I used to speak about it. I used to laugh at times going back years ago. The standard was abysmal. in women's international football. The standard is not abysmal now. The standard is excellent. The games are excellent. The athleticism and the skill, the ability on show is great. And that's because the women's game has, in recent years, has become professional and money has come into the game. And obviously with that, of course, everything improves. The standard improves. And so anyway, I've been watching it and I've been enjoying it. So the women played Cameroon yesterday. And the game descended into utter farce after England scored a perfectly legitimate goal, which the lineswoman flagged for offside. It's one of the most difficult jobs in any sport, by the way, is to be a linesman or a lineswoman. The margins are unbelievably fine. And it was marginal, the call. So the lineswoman got it wrong. And the goal was ruled out. But the referee said, I'm hearing in my ear there that the video judges, the video assisted referee on the sideline, which has come into football in the last 18 months or so, I'm hearing that maybe it was wrong to disallow the goal. So there was a couple of minutes while they reviewed it. They realised that the lineswoman had made an error and that the England goal should stand. And the Cameroonian team just completely melted down, lost it completely, threatened to go on strike, refused to return to the centre circle and restart the match, much to the bemusement of the spectators, much to the bemusement of the England players and the watching television audience. Their coach, their manager, endeavoured to tell them to get on with it. He ended up having an argument with some of them on the side of the pitch. You couldn't make this up. Anyway, that'd be bad enough. But the same thing happened again a couple of times during the game when a decision went against the Cameroonian team when they scored a goal and it was ruled out by the video referee. There was an incident where a Cameroonian player spat at an England player. And later on in the game, some of the Cameroonian players started putting in kamikaze leg-breaking tackles on the England players. So why am I telling you all this? Because when all was said and done, after the worst behaviour by a football team at any level, ever, the Cameroonians, well, they played the victim card. In fact, they played the race card because they, in attempting to explain their behaviour later on and their conduct, they blamed it on racism. They said that the referees were racist. The institution of the World Cup was racist. The people organising the sport were racist. They must be, because they allowed that England goal, even though the video referee clearly showed that the goal should stand. They must be racist because our goal was disallowed, even though the video showed that the goal shouldn't stand. Spitting on people, insulting people, putting in tackles on people that could end their careers. And then they played the race card. And I thought that was interesting. What was interesting was while it was going on, Caroline, the oft-mentioned future Mrs. Allen, said, before they played the race card, Caroline said, I bet you they'll play the race card. I think in the future, this is going to be controversial now, some of my black listeners won't like this. In the future, white people working in positions of authority, whether it be supervisory positions, managerial, will refuse to be in a room with an ethnic minority unless there are witnesses present, lest some decision made by the supervisor or the manager be criticised and there be allegations that racism played a part in it. Can you imagine that? I can see how that's going. I remember many years ago when I was a football coach at Hibernian FC in Waterford City. I spent many years there coaching young boys, just young boys now, and loved it. I had a great time doing it. But Richie's no fool, you know. Very early on when I took that gig, which was an unpaying gig, a voluntary gig, of course, I insisted that there were always a minimum of two parents present at every training session, but also present at every match day. So we might be travelling to a match, and I always insisted that there were parents there, so that I could never be accused of any inappropriate behaviour around the boys. Going way back, of course, this was when the Catholic Church scandal was at its worst in terms of the media coverage of it. And I think in the future there will be people reluctant to be around people who would be of an ethnic minority group, because I'm not just going to put myself in that position where I'm going to behave naturally and normally, and I'm going to just treat people the same no matter who they are, but I might be accused of something. And that's where we're going. Farcical stuff. And sickening and depressing that these women, these Cameroonian women, obviously talented athletes, obviously young women, obviously smart women, most of them I would have said, but to descend to that and to accuse people of racism because of your own disgusting behaviour, I thought it merited a mention today, because I think it's a dangerous, dark place we're going. And anyway, they're out of the World Cup, and good riddance to them. Sad for their fans to travel so far to watch them and to put up with that nonsense. I thought the England women were amazing under pressure, and I thought the England coaching staff did brilliantly well in the way they conducted themselves as well. Rotten stuff, but there you are. That's the society we're living in today, I think. You didn't think we'd be talking about football, did you, this morning, huh? What else have we got here? This is the war. It's crap, this, isn't it? I'm mindful of this. I'm not just saying this. This isn't fishing for compliments here. This is absolutely crap. And I wish I could do better with it. Eventually we'll get green screens and chroma key and everything in here. It'll look a lot better. You won't be looking at my ugly mug all the time. Hi to Andrew Taylor, to Gabriel Swift, to Liz McFall. Good morning, Liz. Good morning to Stuart Frampton. Good morning, Dean Thornby. Guy Master Flex. Lovely. Chris Brown. Mercy and Golden Age. Samantha Jordan. I've enjoyed watching the footy, says Samantha. They were a disgrace, though, yesterday. They were a disgrace. Morning, Faisal. How you doing, Faisal? Jesus Jones there. Richard Murray. The inevitable, laughable notion that women should be paid the same has started to rumble. Where do we begin with that? Well, the women, I suppose, would have every right to demand the same pay as male footballers get when the interest grows to the point where they have sold out stadiums and when the sponsorship money comes in. When the money is in the game, that is in the men's game, well, the women then will have every right to say we should get the same money. But at the moment, there isn't the sponsorship in the game, there isn't the interest in the game that there is in the men's game. But if the women's game keeps going the way it's going, there will be that interest. And I love the women's game at the moment because you can go and watch it and you can pay less than 10 quid and you can get a drink for less than 5 or 6 quid and it's family friendly. And you're not standing next to some yobbo screaming and swearing and behaving like a complete moron, roaring like a maniac, threatening people. And you get a lot of that at football with male fans, sadly. But the women's game, you can go and watch it with kids, right? So there you are. Thanks, Liz. Thanks for the super chat donation, Liz. Thank you. That's made my morning. As Bree says, blacks from Africa have an average IQ of 70. Where do you get that crap? Where do you get that garbage? And don't just send me a link to a YouTube video. And don't just send me a link to some fucking racist post by some racist moron on the internet. Blacks in Africa do not have an average IQ of 70 or anything like it. Holy God. Come on, man. You're not racist. You're just a moron. My God. Moronic. Who are you listening to? Red Ice, I suppose, is it? Ah, how are you, Jean-Ann? I had a bit of a shave there. It's my great friend Jean-Ann Crowley. I had a bit of a shave. The racist card, yeah. The Cameroonian team, huh? Huh? We're kicking people. We're spitting at people. We're refusing to play. We're intimidating the referee. One of them actually ran over to the referee who's from, I can't remember whether she was from Korea. I'm not sure, or some part of the Far East, and shoved the referee In the men's game, if you did it, you'd be sent off and you might get a year's ban. This is how they were carrying on, this African team. And then they said it was racism. Ban them! Ban them for 6 months from all international competition. Unbelievable. Good morning to Charlotte in Burnley. Lovely. Marvellous. Listen, I'm all for free speech and Ath Breeze, whoever Ath Breeze is, say whatever you want. I won't call you racist. I won't call you anything, but I'll call you a moron. You know, this notion that blacks have an average IQ of 70, don't make me laugh. Give me a break. Right, so the Daily Express, pressure on Boris to come clean. Again, mentioned this at the start. They won't let it go. He spilled a bit of red wine on a white sofa. He's not the brightest spark ever, Boris. I don't care that he can speak French. I don't care that he can cram 6 or 7 multi-syllable or multi-syllabic words into a sentence. Doesn't make him bright. Talking about people with IQs of 70. So he had this argument with his girlfriend, the Guardian reading lefties who seemed to have some gripe with Johnson anyway, called the police. They found there was nothing going on that would worry them, but the papers won't let it go. That's the Express. The Guardian. Hunt piles pressure on Johnson over police visit. Well, Jeremy Hunt was initially seeming to take the high road, playing the ball and not playing the man. But now Hunt is going, well, I've got nothing to lose here. He had an 8-point lead, now he's got a 3-point lead. Let's get stuck in about the police visit. Johnson is supposed to be doing a live debate on Sky News tomorrow night with Jeremy Hunt, moderated by the Ginger Ninja, Kay Burley. It's not clear at the moment whether Johnson is going to do it, even though apparently he said he would do it. What's in the I paper? Johnson urged to deal with domestic row. Move on. Move on. The Mail. Boris and girlfriend driven out of home. Apparently they can't go back to the flat because of the level of interest. They've put out some statement through a friend. I'm not sure how official it is, but they've said we're stronger than ever. Some of the papers are saying that they were regularly rowing. I've been with the future Mrs. Allen for 17 years. And we have our ups and our downs. And we might get a little period where we might grumble at one another. And it might last a few days. I don't mean now passive-aggressive silences and stuff like that. But we might just snark at one another. And there might be a bit of raised voices and stuff like that. It happens, right? And then you have mind-blowing sex and it's all good again. Dr. Ruth always said it, didn't she? Sex ends any argument and renders it moot. Who is to blame in the first place? Told you this is rubbish. I told you. But you keep coming back here every morning at 9:30. It's your fault. Metro. Come clean, Boris. Go away. What's in the Mirror? I love the Mirror. He wants to get back with his wife. That's a brilliant bit of journalism or non-journalism by the Mirror. It's a very clever editor in the Mirror, knowing full well that every other paper is going to go with a story about Johnson and the girlfriend. Why not put a headline out there that will stand out in all the newsagents? Something that's complete nonsense, maybe. Boris wants to get back with the wife. Fantastic. Or maybe he does. Maybe it's a political strategy, maybe. The Sun. Boris and Carrie, 4 rows in 6 weeks. We've had more than that in a day, me and Caroline sometimes. A combustible French woman, strong, independent, with a mouth on her the size of the Watford Gap. And me! Obviously. Murders! It's like World War III once every now and then. Then it all blows over. Mind-blowing sex. What's in the Telegraph? You know I'm lying about the sex, right? I don't get any at all. What's in the Telegraph? Boris, I won't bottle Brexit. We've heard this before. October 31st, the deadline. I'll take us out, says Boris. He's lying. We're not going anywhere. In the Times. Johnson is a coward, says Hunt. Eventually, these contests will be settled by the UFC, won't they? That's how crazy this world is. In the future, these guys will end up in the octagon. That's the way to sort out who's going to be the Prime Minister. Forget 16 hustings around the country and debates hosted by the Ginger Ninja. Stick them into the octagon. See how they get on. If anything, at least it'd be a good laugh, wouldn't it, to see Johnson chasing Jeremy Hunt around the octagon. Right, I want to read a few more comments. And then we'll look at one or two of the stories. Not the Guardian's place to reprint a private row, says Jean-Anne. I'd have yelled at him too, by the way. Now the girlfriend can't go back to her flat due to the paparazzi. That's absolutely spot on. And of course the papers, traditionally, they don't care who they hurt. Carrie Simmons might be Johnson's girlfriend and she might expect a little bit of attention, but nobody could be prepared for that level of intrusion into your life. And that woman is probably doesn't know whether she's coming or going now. You know, I wouldn't be able to deal with it. Being chased around by photographers and people asking you stupid questions, you know. So there you go. Asprees has come back at me and hasn't melted down. Good for you, mate. Good for you. We can always agree to disagree. And I shouldn't be calling people morons. But the bell curve is nonsense. It's just nonsense, right? Ask anybody who's ever travelled in Africa. And I have, luckily enough. And I've met many people from that part of the world in Africa and also in southern Spain. And let me tell you, having grown up in parts of Western Africa and Southern Africa, the men and women I met from Congo, from Nigeria, from Cameroon, from all these places, growing up without television, growing up without DVDs and movies and propaganda and having to do things for yourself, I would argue the average IQ of the average young man or woman in Africa is higher than it is in Western Europe, I would argue. Intelligence quotient. That which matters. Understanding the world around them. Being able to hold and have interpersonal relationships. Being able to think creatively. That's how I judge intelligence. And my travels in Africa led me to believe that I'm a bit of a fucking thicko, really, because I can't put a nail in the wall. I couldn't put wallpaper up. So that's how I feel about it. You're going to think I'm a mega virtue signaller, but you know I'm not. Because I'll always invite people on my programs who have a different point of view. Was it the whites who built the pyramids? Or Machu Picchu? Or Puma? The list is endless, says Megatree Rat. Yeah. Hi to Janie Brooks. Right. Stoned Crow. I just want to say hello to everybody. Because I know you get fed up. Hi to Dick Scratcher. To Jamie Williamson. Robert Muldoon. Listen, I don't want to I want to get straight in. Right, I'm getting straight because some of the stories are good now, right? Some interesting stories. So, Jeremy Hunt, Foreign Secretary. Warmongering madman. Mail today, these are quotes. This isn't speculation. The UK would consider joining Donald Trump in any war on Iran, says Jeremy Hunt. So he should be arrested! Iran has done nothing to the UK. Hasn't threatened the UK, hasn't attacked the UK anywhere, in any theatre, on any sea. A scumbag there is saying, tell you what, we could support Donald Trump in any war with Iran. In the Mail today. Lovely, huh? Yeah. I'll send other people's children away abroad, overseas, to kill, to maim, and to pillage and plunder. But not my own, though. I won't go. Jeremy Hunt, huh? Speaking of Iran, this madman. Which madman, you might say? The one in the foreground or the one in the background? Well, let's talk about the one in the background. Because the man who hired him, Donald Trump, has been telling anybody who'll listen yesterday, because he did several interviews, Trump, and he says if it was up to John Bolton, he'd fight the whole world at once. He'd attack everywhere. Why did you hire him then? Why did you hire the madman who wants to wage war in every country around the world that's never attacked or never threatened anybody? Why did you hire the man? Jesus Christ. Meet the press. I have some hawks, says Donald. John Bolton is absolutely a hawk. If it was up to him, he'd take on the whole world at one time. Why did you hire him? You promised. You promised in the heartlands of your country. You promised the thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people who turned up, people with nothing, people who are sick and tired of poverty, who are sick and tired of wars of aggression. You promised them, you lunatic, you promised them that these days were over. It was finished. On my watch, no more interventionism. So why are you hiring people like John Bolton? Of course I know the answer. But you can't talk to Donald Trump's fans. Where's Bolton? Well, he's meeting a fellow psychopath in Tel Aviv over the weekend. Complete madman. Look at that there. Who's the craziest? Do you think they spent the entire weekend pulling the legs off of Daddy Longlegs? Do you think they did that? Eh? Torturing small animals? Scumbags. There you go. You ever want to know who's running things? Every weekend or every week, a minister of state from some Western power is in Israel meeting with the nutty one. Why? At least every other week. The French, the Russians, they don't like that, you see. They don't like that. You know? A lot of my listeners, they don't like it. Oh, you're criticising RT. Yeah? Criticise everything. I like RT. Why does Vladimir Putin hold monthly meetings with Benjamin Netanyahu? Why do you think? Who's running things? This is an important story. It's coming up for 10. I'm going to do another 10 minutes max. Very important story in The Guardian. It looks nothing, but it's important. There's a site for people who knit, and it's got millions of members. It's very popular. It's called Ravelry. And Ravelry has decided to ban members who knit. Members who express any type of support for Donald Trump and his government. Honest to God. This is the story in The Guardian today. It's important, this, because it speaks to something you and I have spoken about quite a lot in the last couple of years. This is a great article by Stephanie Convery. Great thing about The Guardian is you can read this for free online. If you feel like throwing a couple of quid to The Guardian, you can do that as well. I do. I throw a couple of quid to The Telegraph and to The Guardian. Because it's only right. Because I use them all the time. And I ask my listeners to throw me a couple of quid every now and then. So I would be a hypocrite, wouldn't I? If I used the papers and I didn't throw them a couple of bob. So there's the story. One of the biggest knitting websites in the world, which claims to have more than 8 million members, has announced that it will ban users from expressing support for Donald Trump, saying that to do so constitutes white supremacy. Administrators for Ravelry, knitters, crocheters, designers and anyone dabbling in the fibre arts, said they were making any expression of support for Trump and his administration in forum posts, even in patterns, on their personal profile pages, off limits. You could be knitting a sweater with the image of Donald Trump on it, and this website will ban you. And they say we cannot provide a space that is inclusive of all and also allow support for open white supremacy. Right? You can see a bit of it there. It's very, very worrying, this, because this is catching on. This is becoming trendy now for organisations, not only online but offline, to declare that a belief in something or somebody is objectionable enough for you to be excluded. You're out. But I just like Donald. You're out. But I voted for Donald Trump. You're out. You can't express that on our website. Well, all I did was make a scarf with Trump 2020 on it. I mean, I'm allowed to support the candidate I want, right? No. Not with us, you're not. So you're banned. Hate groups. Hate groups and intolerance are different from other types of political positions. So Ravelry said, we're not banning participation on the website from people who supported Trump, only expressions of that support. So you can support him if you want, but we don't want to hear about it. It's not good, guys, guys and gals, it's not good. Like I said, it's becoming trendy. GoFundMe have told Israel Folau to go fuck off because of his anti-gay views. Now again, and I have to keep doing this because I'm not talking about my gay listeners. It's not my gay listeners. It's not my black listeners. It's not my Asian listeners. It's not. It runs right through. Despite listening to me for many years, I can't say one thing without some of my listeners thinking, well, it must mean then that he believes this or he believes that. I do not agree with Israel Folau or the conservative Christian opinion of LGBT people. I don't at all. But I don't agree with Israel Folau, a brilliant rugby player, by the way, being sacked by Australia because he thinks gay people are going to hell. Gay people are not going to hell. I don't believe there is such a thing as hell. And even if there was, who'd want to have anything to do with any God anyway? Who says, oh, you had a loving relationship with another man. You never bothered anybody, you never harmed anybody, you did good in your life, but you had a relationship with a man, so you're going to hell. It's nonsense to me. I don't agree with Israel Folau. But he should have a right to think what he wants to think, shouldn't he? So now GoFundMe have basically deleted a fundraiser that he was doing because of his anti-gay views. Christ. The biggest influence on my career, a man I loved like he was my own father, a man called Billy McCarthy, WLRFM, who died a couple of years ago. Rest in peace, Billy. Billy was a gay man and he lived with his partner Des until he died for over 30 years. Billy McCarthy, if he was alive, would not endorse the firing of him or the deletion of him online because of his views. Billy would say, get him on the radio, Richie. Argue with him. Treat him properly now. Let him have his say, but argue with him. Not anymore. Get rid, ban, delete, gone. Israel Folau. Jesus, huh? Jihadi Jack says, I'd love to come home. I won't blow up Brits, I promise. I promise. I want to come home. Do you promise you're not going to blow anybody up now? Yeah, I swear. I swear. Put a stack of Bibles in front of me. Wow. Do you think vaudeville, right? It is a Truman Show, isn't it? We're all starring in our own Truman Show. This is just unbelievable. This is madness. Jihadi Jack. Let me home. He feels guilty for what he put his parents through. But if you let me back, I promise I won't blow anybody up. There won't be a more bizarre or surreal headline anywhere in the news today. Promise, I promise now. Do you promise now? I promise. Unbelievable. He won't even be allowed by a chemistry set, will he? He won't even be allowed by a magic set. No fireworks for Jihadi Jack at Halloween. It'll be surreal. Everybody will be nice to him. They just won't give him any matches. They won't sell him a lighter. He won't be allowed smoke. He won't be allowed to get any fireworks for Halloween. Now, Jack, You know? Madness. This is an interesting story in the Telegraph today about a young mum who died. She had breast cancer and didn't want to take chemotherapy for it, didn't want to have chemotherapy, and tried a number of natural approaches and didn't survive the cancer, sadly. Left a 5-year-old daughter behind, excuse me. But the Telegraph article is taking a very dim view of alternative therapy and more natural approaches. That's the disappointing thing. It's sad that this lady has died, and you know, with a young husband and a young child, it must be dreadful for them. But it's kind of sad that the Telegraph are using the story to kind of throw a kind of a shadow over the notion that you might be able to treat, or at least tackle, your cancer, your tumour, by natural means. So it's in the Telegraph today, which is a paper you must pay for. And sadly, the Telegraph story also lumps in this woman's experience with the anti-vaccination lobby. Can you see it there? Am I pointing in the right way? I told you this is rubbish. You see it there? And that's a shame, that, because we've heard from people over the years who have managed to stay alive and manage tumours by not using chemo, which is poison. It's radiation. It kills vital cells. It kills good cells. And yes, it might kill the bad cells and it might kill tumours. And it has worked in people. Don't believe all these lunatic truths or industrial complex people who tell you it's never worked. It has worked. But sadly, in I think over 90% of the occasions, it doesn't work. I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't have it. We know there's a lot of problems with the law, which states that you can only declare chemo to be the only cure that exists for cancer. The Cancer Act of 1930, whatever, 1939. To mention anything else is against the law, which is ridiculous, right? Very wrong. I think there are natural ways to treat cancer. I'm very interested in the work of Stanislav Brzezinski. But I want to mention Darren, by the way. I met Darren in Buell Hill Park in Salford yesterday. And I met him as he was downloading the Richie Allen show. How cool is that? He was downloading the Richie Allen show. And I met him and I bumped into him. We had a lovely chat. He's not living too far, is Darren. He might be watching this. Morning, mate. And I really enjoyed speaking with him. He's a real font of knowledge. And Darren was talking about Stanislav Brzezinski, whom I interviewed on Talk Radio Europe back in 2009, 2010 even. And I really... anti-neoplastons in the urine, which is connected to GCMAF. I believe there are things which will deal with cancer effectively. I do believe, of course I believe that. I wouldn't be doing this programme if I didn't. It's a shame that they've used this today to bash alternative treatments. One thing I'll never say, nobody should tell anybody what to do and what not to do. Speak to the oncologist, speak to everybody. Just keep your options open. Speak to people who've used other methods, other natural methods. Speak to them as well, Listen to everybody. What are we looking at? 10 past 10, is it? I'll read a few comments and I'll love you and leave you then. Got some very interesting shows lined up this week. And Wednesday and Thursday, the live radio show is going to be starting in the early afternoon. So I'll be on air as normal Wednesday and Thursday, but a bit earlier because I've got a couple of things on. Late in the week, next Wednesday and Thursday, things that have been booked in for months and months. I'm going to see a concert on Wednesday, and then I've got a meeting on Thursday. The Eagles are in Manchester. They were in Wembley Stadium last night, apparently. The Eagles. Glenn Frey's son, is his name Deacon? Deacon is playing guitar. Of course, Glenn passed away a couple of years ago. But Joe Walsh, Don Henley, the Eagles. Looking forward to that. That's all we do. Caroline and myself, we don't do very much other than maybe once every couple of months we go to a concert. We love that. We love a bit of live music. Jose says, you're not very self-aware, are you, Richie? Every time you feel you might have said something un-PC, you go into virtue signalling mode to atone for your sin. Stop it. Thanks, Jose. I can see why you might think that, but that's not the case. It's not the case. I'm aware that for many people, they're still in their infancy in terms of understanding these issues. And there are people coming to the programme all the time who haven't been listening to me for many years and haven't listened to my shows where I've talked to people with a conservative Christian outlook. I'm happy. I enjoy doing that. It's important that I point out what it is I really believe. I don't agree with Israel Folau. Of course I don't. But I'm not saying that I don't agree with Israel Folau to virtue signal to LGBT people. No. No. This is a guy who's said 1,000 times on the radio, I don't believe that gay men and women should be allowed to adopt. And you might say that's a conservative Christian position to take on that issue. I don't think it is. I don't believe in same-sex adoption. I'm passionately opposed to it. Right? I'm for free speech. But if I do come across like it's it's apologetic, it's not. I'm just pointing out to people. Don't agree with Israel, but I don't think he's evil, or he's a monster, or he's unapproachable, or that he is unpalatable to the point that he has to be banned. No, just disagree with him. I said this to Peter Tatchell. What are you going to do? You have to live with people who have opinions that you find uncomfortable or annoying. Got to live with them because they're not evil. They're not bad people just because they don't like gays. Do you like gays? No. But that doesn't define them. It doesn't define somebody who thinks that homosexuality is wrong. I interview these people because I'm not going to tolerate a society within which they're not allowed to speak. Or that I have to join the PC brigade and condemn them and call them names and say, yeah, you're banned. Yeah, I wouldn't talk to him. Do you hear what he said about gays? I'm not having that. So I'll never be politically correct, me. I never have been. But I see where you're going with that, Jose. Thanks for the message, mate. Right. Hi, Jennifer, who loves starting her day with me. Jennifer, you need to get out more. But thanks for that. Right then, I'm off. I'll be speaking with Trad Cat Knight himself, Eric Kijewski, on the Richie Allen radio show this afternoon on richieallen.co.uk, Fab Radio 2 and triggerwarning.tv. Now, I was due to speak to Barry Trower again today, but while all my tech issues are absolutely amazingly sorted out now, there is an issue with the phone. So, and of course, Barry only does phone. Barry Trower, no laptop, no computer, no microwave, of course, because he's very sincere. So Barry only does the old dog and bone. So Barry's going to come on next Monday. He's very helpful, Barry. And he's going to do another Q&A with me next Monday. So today it's Eric Kijewski. Tomorrow, I've not got the diary. I've got somebody really exciting tomorrow. And then Wednesday and Thursday, I'll be doing I think it'll be a 2:00 in the afternoon radio show both days. And I'll tell you more about that later on anyway. In the meantime, you get on with the rest of your day. Thanks for watching this garbage. And you and I will speak at 5 on the Richie Allen radio show. Thanks for all your messages, by the way, too. Speak later. Bye.